another episode of the Deliberate Dropout. I feel like that's always my intro and we're back, but pumped for today's episode. Ljupco and I, we're going to be breaking down the difference between book smarts and street smarts. What are the differences? Why do those differences matter? Ljupco, welcome back. Excited to jam on this today. Start us off, man. Book smarts versus street smarts. What's your take?
Yes, sir. Happy to be here, man. Let's just, I guess the overall, what's the big difference? I would say book smarts, if we boil it down to the definition, book smarts can obviously be taught. You read a book, you take notes, and you're tested on the material. Street smarts, this is where I want your opinion as well. I don't think there's not a clear cut, everybody has a different definition for this term.
Yeah.
Right. I'd definitely be interested in what you have to what you think it is. What I don't even know if I'm right, but what I think it is, what it boils down to is how you process issues and how you understand human nature.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's correct. Let's hear it, man.
We can chop it up. Yeah. I think, at the 10,000 foot view, I think that's generally right. I think, I think back to where I was at 18. I think I was a kid that had a lot of book smarts and very little street smarts. And so when I think about street smarts, it's reading the room. It's your emotional intelligence. It can also literally mean street smarts. I think this is where when you get into different fields, they use like the inside baseball terminology. Street smarts is knowing the game that you're playing and knowing the rules of those games. And even if you're not familiar, say you're going into a new industry, you're in sales. So let's use that as an example. You're going from software tech sales into medical sales. There is a different vocabulary and terminology and different probably cultural differences of the way business is done in medical sales than tech sales, software sales. And I think that street smarts is your ability to recognize when you have left one frame and walked into another one. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you suddenly know all the new lingo, all the new culture, but having the situational awareness to realize, hey, we're now playing a different game. And so I need to adapt. I think that's part of, what I think about street smarts. And that's hard to learn in a classroom or from reading a book. That's lived experience is the way that you get good at that, I think.
Yeah, for sure, bro. And there's so many different ways that you could apply that, right? One way, I would say the most common way is corporate. You change jobs, change, you're learning the culture, you're learning this, you're learning that. I would say from my angle, I wasn't really street smart or book smart. I think you could learn it as well through life, man. Life smacks you a couple times and you learn what to do and what not to do. One thing, I don't know how controversial this is going to be, but I would say one way you could learn street smarts, right? And this is nobody, don't take my word for it. Don't listen to this advice. I would say studying the mafia, right? Yeah. Have you ever watched mafia interviews on YouTube?
I not much mafia interviews, but I love big fan of the Godfather movies.
Yeah,
that
right?
whole scene.
I feel there's a lot to forget the crime, forget the unethical shit they were doing. Learning how they had a consigliere, learning that, understand that is so applicable in corporate structure and how you deal with humans, how when not to disrespect, how to show appreciation for your superiors, etc. That knowledge. I feel it's a lost, not art, but it's a lost knowledge. And I think there's a lot to learn. That's just one example.
Yeah. But, different cultures too, this is different cultures. You could do etiquette, reading or learning about that too.
Right.
But getting out and becoming aware of how people interact with other people.
Yeah, exactly.
And learning to identify hierarchies and how to navigate those. There is some savvy that takes that, even if you don't study the mafia, there's some good corollaries there for sure.
Yeah,
but I think back to some of the mistakes I made early in my career too, is not knowing how to read the room or understand the game you're playing or the hierarchy or who really has decision-making power or not understanding the political environment you're in. Like that's stuff that is in between the lines of the textbooks. They don't teach you that stuff. And that's hard walking in because, those, it's hard to overcome mistakes early on in your career, but that's the best way to learn is like you go in and, you have to put your foot in your mouth a few times to get familiar with your lay of land. So when I think about the difference, I'm going to turn the tables on you in a minute too. Like when I think about the difference between book smarts and street smarts, I think street smarts are like basic survival skills in the real world. These will help you survive.
Yep.
The book smarts, whether you go to school or not, the book smarts is like seeking out the information that helps you thrive. It's not just being able to survive, but how you can level up, like learning the shortcuts to the games that are being played. And sometimes I think the book smarts are just unnecessary if you don't have those street smarts, because, I think both sides are like useful skills to have, like, generally speaking, but I don't think either one just stand alone. I think there are like pros and cons to them, and like stand alone, you're kind of at a disadvantage.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're on the extreme of one or the other, like you're not really doing any benefit. The best optimal practice, how can I get both, right? How can I understand human nature, navigate through different industries, different structures, and at the same time create that shortcut where you understand how to digest and you understand the lingo, the terminology. You just accelerate that growth even more. That's definitely for sure.
Yeah. So let's go back to your own lived experience, dropping out of college, in your early career, those first, interactions out there in the real world. Like, where do you feel like the balance was for you of street smarts you had, book smarts that you had going into your first job, dropping out of college, and like, where were the gaps you had to fill in? How'd you do that?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I would say in my lived experience, right? I would say I was more like I was good at digesting information, reading books. And, as we talked about in the previous podcast, like that's kind of how I started Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I dropped, I did. But one part I could say for sure, I was like, that street smarts was definitely missing early on in my career. Like, my father passed away when I was young, 3 years, didn't really have that masculine figure. I bring this up only because that's a big deal. That's a big part of developing a healthy ego.
Yeah.
I was always on the other side of the spectrum. What's the opposite of an ego? It's your soul. So I was always on the, like, emotional intelligence was there. I understood emotions. I was intuitive.
Yeah.
But like, I didn't have that healthy ego to back that up. So what happened? People walked all over me. Yeah. People took advantage of me, this, that. Long story short, I would say that I didn't even like me developing that healthy ego. That's a big part of street smarts, like knowing when to say no, knowing when to help others, serving others without sacrificing. Yeah. That's like my mission. I feel like that I've been constant. I'm still going through it today,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that kind of stuff it's hard to learn in the traditional, for sure. Education environment though, I think that part of it is like, you're almost in an artificial ecosystem when it comes to like hierarchies that are out in the real world. You've got a teacher, a professor, and you've got peers who are like all on the same level. And this person who is like the final arbiter of what's right and what's wrong, which is like somewhat unrealistic. In the real world, you have a boss and you have peers too, but it's different because you're not just working for your boss, except for in like very, very rigid corporate structures that are just like super political, like the types of environments you probably don't want to be working in anyway.
Yeah,
in the
right.
real world, though, it's like the best ideas rise to the top. What's valuable? It's more than just trying to please your boss. That is a function of advancement in some political, tight-knit groups or company. Yeah, some companies are more political, but for the most part, it's not about trying to get a grade. It's about trying to figure out how to be valuable, how to fill in gaps, for the company, or how to be valuable to a customer. That's the street smarts part, is like that awareness of like, hey, the rules are different out in the real world. And that's, what's valuable is how to how to actually go out and help somebody else get what they want. That's the street smarts. The book smarts is like, okay, now that I know that, how do I go execute that?
Yeah.
And like, you know, I think this is a problem I see, and like, kudos to you for dropping out and like going and accelerating your street smart education. But I think that's a problem a lot of college graduates face when they go out into the real world is they're like, I have these book smarts. They don't know how to read the room. They haven't recognized that the frame has changed, and it's no longer about like getting the grade. It's about being valuable to other people. And so they are at a disadvantage unless or until they go and short up the gaps that they have in their existing knowledge set. Some people never do. They don't want to, you know, continue the learning, but you've got to have the full kind of combination. You can't just have the institutional education. You got to have the real world education too.
Yeah, for sure. Like they come out college, they're already in a disadvantage. Like they've been taught the first 22 years, you get the good grade, you succeed, right? It's not like you mentioned, it's not like that. It's obviously can be learned. Some people don't want to learn it at that point, but yeah, for sure. Like you got to get both, bro. Figure it out how. Just get both of them, right?
Yeah. Whether you go or not, whether you drop out or not, like figure out how to go get a fully rounded education. And that doesn't have to mean going and getting a college degree. Like education can be you reading your books, like you talked about in your last episode, like so many books that you've devoured and like a lot of podcasts and books that I've read. And then like actually going out and getting out of the classroom and into the real world.
Yeah, for sure, man. Preach.
All right. This has been another episode of The Deliberate Dropout. We'll be back again soon with more knowledge bombs with my friend Ljupco here. If you're listening on YouTube or your favorite podcast player, smash the subscribe button. If you're on YouTube, leave us a comment. Let us know what you'd like to hear more about. Thanks again for listening. We'll be back again soon.